This day in sports history. This episode is brought to you by the Sterling Soap Company. Sterling Soap is 100% natural and with a variety of bath soaps, shave soaps, beard balm, lotions, cologne, and many more personal care products in a large variety of scents, you're sure to find something that's perfect for you or that special someone in your life. Check them out at sterlingsoap.com. So you've probably noticed I uploaded 2 episodes for today. Look, I'm a golf fan and a Ben Hogan fan, and this day was a big one in the life of Hogan, in that it was almost the end of it. The episode about Hogan and what happened on this day is a standalone. It's written with a slightly different tone and style, and it just didn't seem to fit with what I've been doing recently. So give it a listen if you have time, but now it's time for today's regular episode. It's February 2nd, and on this day in 2019, it was one of the worst basketball games in the history of the shot clock era. There's supposed to be an advantage of playing at home, right? It's usually a minimum of a 3-point boost on betting lines. NC State could have used all of those points on this night because they were not able to generate much on their own. The Virginia Tech Hokies were in town for a Saturday showdown at the RBC Center. The Hokies were ranked number 12 in the country, but they were less than 2 weeks removed from a 21-point loss to the Tar Heels in which they'd given up 103 points. The Wolfpack came into this game as the 23rd ranked team in the country, but they were fresh off of a frustrating 66-65 overtime loss to number 3 Virginia. They were averaging 84 points a game at this point in the year. So it is a little perplexing how badly things went for the Pack on this day. Now, here's a good example of how things went. Tech is up 13-6 at this point with about 7 minutes to play in the first half.
Edie coming off 7 points, an ACC high against Miami. Here's Helms. Daniels on the offensive glass. Rejected by Blackshear. Open to the corner, Bryce. Dorn perseveres inside. This is unbelievable. Can the Wolfpack pay it off? They cannot.
State only scored 14 points in the first half. Virginia Tech was only slightly better, putting 20 on the board. Now, at some point, you just expect the lid to be lifted off the basket. Surely there's somebody who can make a shot, but Kevin Keats could not find that person. And things got worse for the Pack in the second half, if you can believe it. They only scored 10 points in the final 20 minutes. Final score, Hokies 47, Wolfpack 24. The 24 points is the lowest output by a ranked team in the shot clock era, which, if you remember, started in 1985. They hit only 9 of the 54 shots they took that day. Now that works out to making only 17% of their shots. No Pack player finished in double figures. C.J. Bryce was State's leading scorer with 7. Interestingly enough, the Wolfpack scored 96 3 days later in a loss in Chapel Hill. So going from a team which could not score to a guy who could not be stopped. On this day in 1954, Clarence Bevo Francis scored 113 points in a college basketball game. Now, to say Bevo Francis saved tiny Rio Grande College from going bankrupt would not be an overstatement at all. Now, it started in 1951 when Newt Oliver took the job to coach tiny Rio Grande, located in southwestern Ohio. And just a note here, it is pronounced Rio. It's Rio Grande in Texas, Rio Grande in Ohio. Anyway, Newt had coached in high school before the move, and he coached Bevo as a high schooler. It was only natural for Bevo to follow his coach, and when the duo arrived on campus 2 years before this game, Rio had 39 students. Their Baptist church support had just been pulled. The school did not have much money in the bank to pay faculty. Bevo changed that by simply playing basketball and scoring a whole lot of points. He started to attract attention by averaging 50 points a game in his first year. Playing at their home gym, nicknamed the Pig Pen in December of '52, Bevo nearly outscored California State all by himself in a 105-73 win. Bevo scored 72. When a local newspaper reporter put that story out on the wire, people started asking, who is Bevo Francis? Well, people started buying tickets to find out who Bevo was. Ticket sales brought in more than $15,000 in revenue that was then used to pay faculty and bills and keep the lights on at the school. Enrollment to the school jumped nearly 30%. In 1953, there was a packed house at the Pigpen for a January game that watched Bevo score 116 points. While it was a witnessed event in a regular college game, the score was never entered into the record book, and it was not recognized by the NCAA. The buzz continued, though, and more people came to see Bevo play basketball. Newt wanted his team to get more notice, though, and he wanted Bevo to show what he could do against tougher competition. In the 53-54 season, Newt accepted offers to play in both Madison Square Garden and Boston Garden. A win against Miami in their first Garden visit was impressive. When they beat Providence in the Boston Garden, it gave them even more credibility. They even beat the reigning ACC champions, the Wake Forest Demon Deacons, on that trip. And the team made another $10,000 contribution to the school's coffers after that trip to once again keep the school going. So on this night, Rio was taking on Hillsdale College from Michigan, and once again the gym was packed. Bevo had 43 by halftime. He poured in another 34 in the third quarter, and in the final quarter, Bevo scored an average of 2 points every 30 seconds. When the final horn sounded, Rio Grande had won 134-91, and Bevo had officially scored 113 points. He hit 38 of 70 shots and was 37 of 45 from the free throw line. It is still the official record for a college basketball game, and the ball that Bevo Francis scored all those points with on this day is on display at the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame in Springfield, Massachusetts. Let's keep that crazy stat train going with what happened on this day in the NBA in 1968. Wilt Chamberlain had what is called a triple-double. He scored 22 points, grabbed 25 rebounds, and he dished out 21 assists in a 10-point win over the Detroit Pistons. It stood as the only 20-20-20 triple-double until Russell Westbrook did it in April of 2019. And I'll finish it off with this story from 1997. Now, I don't talk much horse racing unless it's Derby time or there's a Triple Crown hopeful to mention, but on this day in 1997, a horse by the name of Frisk Me Now lined up at the starting gate at Hialeah's Gulfstream Park as a 106-1 long shot in the $100,000 Hutcheson Stakes. This was a race for 3-year-olds, and just a couple of gates away was an early Kentucky Derby favorite named Ordway, who was among the favorites in this race at 9-5. Confide was the favorite, and the stallion got out to an early lead, but Frisk Me Now tracked down Confide and beat him by 3/4 of a length to win the big money. It just goes to show you, no matter the odds, you can't win if you don't play. And by the way, Ordway, the pre-Derby favorite, finished dead last, 18 lengths off the pace. And time now for today's That's Got Nothing to Do with Sports fun fact. 2 years before John Wilkes Booth assassinated Abraham Lincoln, Edwin Booth, J.W.'s brother, saved the life of Robert Todd Lincoln, son of the president, on a train platform. Robert had been pressed up against a train while it lurched forward, and it spun him. Edwin pulled him back before he fell under the wheels. Robert recognized the then famous actor, and he wrote him a thank you note, who did not realize until he got the letter that he'd actually saved the life of the president's son. This has been an original Thrive Suite production.